Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shomer Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This is Brother Yakanan from the GMS Houston camp, and just a quick lesson, came to mind from, just being at the job. You seeing whatever job you at, most likely you seeing like signs of that business failing, supply shortages, meaning that there's supply chain disruptions, and you working at your job, that's a you could say microcosm of what's going on in the larger portions of the world, because all our jobs revolve around trade, you know, and interacting with people, and all these different people come from different sources. So anyway, so supply chain shortages, a revolving door, people getting hired, or being a long time before somebody else gets hired, and then they're immediately leaving. Low morale, your leadership, not seeming aloof kind of thing, like they're not informing you what's going on, but you having to put the pieces together, you know or you just not paying attention at all. But this is for people that are paying attention to what's around them. You know, uh, but just you see all the signs are here. Low morale, supply chain disruptions. You're stretched thin. The hours is whack, or whatever you get in. There's all kinds of problems or whatever. But this is all just signs of a failing business, and then it's also signs of a on a larger level. This entire, if you want to use the, I want to say oikomany, meaning it sounds, this economy of the world, it's all collapsing because it's ruled by corrupt leaders, and they're not doing what Yahweh Bashem Yahushai instructed in how to rule righteously. So this kingdom is being rent, it's being torn from the leadership's hands, and this is also a signs of Yahushai's return. But this is signs of a failing business versus civilization collapse. So at their core, a failing business and a collapsing civilization share similar structural deaths. Both undergo financial exhaustion, supply chain fractures, and a fatal loss of trust. So you can't trust, you can't trust your leadership, you can't trust people around you, and that's not, that's speaking worldly matters, you know. However, businesses fail rapidly due to poor metrics or market shifts, while societal collapse unfolds across decades through systemic cascading failures. Yeah, one might take a little bit longer than the other, but guess what? In the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, a, a day to the Lord is 1,000 years to us. So it don't matter if it's decades to us. This stuff is happening quickly either way. And shoot, how long has Babylon the Great been in decline? Shoot, probably since the 60s, really. They even before that, but shit, they had a collapse in the 30s with the Great Depression. but anyway, and how things are looking, the decline of the Edomite Empire, this ain't gonna be no decades. This is coming quickly. The devil knows that he have but a short time. So, however, businesses fail rapidly due to poor metrics or market shifts, while societal collapse unfolds across decades through systemic cascading failures. A failing business experiences tightening cash flow, unpaid vendor bills, and shrinking profit margins. And that's who they have in charge right now. He is, how do you say? Let me see if this will pop up, because I heard this, but I want to see I want to see if it. Okay. I heard this title was for somebody else, but I guess it's for this guy. Says the king of bankruptcy is a moniker most commonly associated with billionaire investor and former U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. He had earned the title on Wall Street during the 1990s and 2000s for his expertise in buying, restructuring, and profitably selling distressed companies like steel and coal. Okay, no. That's not what I meant by that. It says, who do you put in charge if you want a business to fail faster? If you want a business to fail faster, put in an unadaptable micromanager. God, let me see what unadaptable meaning. He cannot adapt to the situation. He's stuck in his ways, and he fucking micromanages everything. Dealing with an unadaptable micromanager is draining, but you can regret. And that's not what I'm asking. I just wanted to know the definition. The most effective. Uh, you think I want you to solve my problems and shit? I don't. And an unadaptable micromanager is a boss or leader who controls every detail of their team's work and refuses to change their rigid, hovering style, even when it causes burnout or slows down progress. Dealing with this dynamic requires proactive. Okay, that is. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the scriptures. That's not even. Salakian. I forget this thing opens up at the. Anyway, as a failing businesses experience civilization collapse. Experience a loss of faith in the monetary system, which the dollar is getting ready to crash. We're telling you it's going to go digital, and and the UK just said by King Charles that they're going to bring the digital ID. They said it's going to be voluntary, and I keep hearing the thing. He said it softly, that it went over people's heads. Like, I don't hear people talking about it at all. I mean, plus one, you're in America. What the fuck are they gonna be talking about UK shit for? You know, unless it's unless you get somebody that watches like British television, whatever. But you're not gonna hear about it. Experience a loss in faith in the monetary system. Currency loses its purchasing power. Hyperinflation. We're experiencing inflation right now. The gas is almost $4 where I am. Debts become impossible to service. You're only paying shit. You're not even paying the actual debt. You're paying the interest on the debt, and bartering or alternative currencies replace official tender. So, yeah, alternative things. You're gonna have to. That's what's happening. Cash ain't working. Nah, we're gonna try a different way. But the way this devil is gonna try to set up everything is you're gonna have to go to him for everything. He's going to be still trying to keep a grasp on everything. Meanwhile, he's collapsed everything, and he's going to bring this through that chip. So, failing business, key suppliers cut terms, resulting in inventory storage and compromise product quality. This shit is trash. Vital trade routes and commercial for civilization collapse. Vital trade routes and commercial networks unravel. Essential resources like food, energy, and medicine become sporadically or permanently unavailable, triggering mass shortages. And this is all what I went into in a previous lesson, which I'm going to upload these around the same time. there's going to be shortages. There's going to be supply shortages. There's going to be things that are going to get so bad that, matter of fact, it says mercilessly assault their neighbors. I know I just had that. That was, and I'm just going to jump and get into the scriptures. It's been long enough. Salakia. Let me see here. Cutting training. This is Second Ezra chapter 15, and I'll start at verse 12 in the GNT. The whole land will be in mourning. It will be shaken to its foundations when I, Yahweh, and this is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, visiting Egypt. And Egypt being spiritually called Egypt and Sodom, but it's speaking of America, Babylon the Great. Says the whole land will be in mourning. It will be shaken to its foundations when I, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, strike it and pound upon it. The farmers will mourn because their seed will fail to sprout. And let me see here. U.S. farmers are facing a severe financial and economic crisis in 2026, struggling with record debt, soaring input costs, devastating droughts, and geopolitical trade disruptions. So, hey, did I not look at all that? Rising operation costs and debt. Farmers are contending with near 40% jump in operating loans and spiking expenses for diesel, seed, and fertilizer. Projected farm sector debt is expected to reach a record $624.7 billion. God, no. Trade and geopolitical disruptions. Export dependent farmers like row crop and soybean producers are taking massive hits due to prolonged trade wars and global conflicts such as war in Iran, which have heavily restricted fertilizer supplies and spiked fuel prices. Extreme weather, severe temperature swings, and ongoing drought conditions in critical agricultural regions have destroyed significant crop yields, leading to what some are calling the worst time for wheat. Policy and aid frustrations. Agricultural officials and senators are warning of widespread bankruptcies and massive losses. Many farmers report a deep disconnect with Washington, citing frozen USDA grant payments, the lack of finalized farm bill, and tariff impacts that are pushing operations to the brink. So, yeah, all you got to do, let me go back to the first slide. It says key suppliers cut terms, resulting in inventory shortages and compromised product quality. Vital trade routes and commercial networks unravel. Essential resources like food, energy, medicine become sporadically or permanently unavailable, triggering mass shortages. Shoot, and that's you see it. It's right there in your face. You know, Second Ezra 15 and 13 in the GNT. The farmers will mourn because their seed will fail to sprout and their trees will be destroyed by blight, hail, and terrible storms. Did not sound what happened? Sound like, and they're being not only being affected by the storms, but they're being affected, by government policies. By what was meant to be there to help them is actually hindering them. The world, and the people in it are doomed. The war that is near, the war that will bring their destruction is very near. World War III. Nations will arm themselves and fight against other nations. Is that not happening? The nations are. I went into the lesson that haven't uploaded yet, but going into all the land has all the world is like upgrading their arsenals. There will be great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. There will no longer be free access to cities because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. So this is what's happening, what's getting ready to take place. You see the stages, these early stages taking place. You see the things collapsing, the civilization collapsing, the business collapsing. These different sectors collapsing, and it's going to lead to, total chaos. Which I don't mean to keep coming back to this one. And the point being is, not to get attached to these things that are getting ready to collapse. Not to get attached to this society or this way of living, or how things are set up, in this world. Getting used to your job, all that kind of thing. Get used to, just get used to this place failing. Getting used to how you been doing. Getting used to moving. Getting used to probably not being in a place too long. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. So 2 Ezra chapter 16 and verse 40, O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, because this is going to try the whole world. This is what's coming, this hour of temptation. And if you haven't been preparing, you aren't ready, anything like that, and you're not gonna make it, especially. And there's only so much ready you can do. There's only so much prepping, and not even not even saying to prep and to build a doomsday bunker, but believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, trusting in Yahweh, trusting in Yahushai, trusting in those names, fearing those names, reverencing those names, because those names are what's going to protect you. And not just those names, but them, Yahweh, through Yahushai, will protect you, will guide you through all things. So Revelation 3 and verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So treating this word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua with reverence, treating it like a precious treasure, guarding it, defending this word. You had those reprobates, what is it, TGC, whatever, coming up with, that the heathens can make it, that the lake of fire, it doesn't make sense that the lake of fire is America, but then they're going to take these dead bodies that are over in the Middle East, and Yahweh is going to pick up these bodies and then drop them in the lake of fire. Like, just changing it, not even believing in the names. They changed the name from, to Yeshua. They changing the doctrine that they were taught, not to be like them, is what I'm saying. They're not keeping the word. They're not guarding the word. They say they are, but their actions speak otherwise. But if you guard this word, the truth that you've been taught, you keep it, you guard it, and Yahushua is going to fight for you. And he's going to protect you. So the only ones that are truly going to be protected are those in the know, the hopeful elect. So again, I'll just read it one more time. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is what's coming. You're gonna see what you made out of if you truly believe in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Meanwhile, the 2/3, all these other heathen, they're gonna be destroyed, and this is gonna be, this is a time like no other. Like no other time recorded in history is going to be like this, and no other time after this event is going to be able to, say that. This is a one time in history. So 2 Ezra 16 and verse 40, O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So pilgrims, be ready to go. Like, this is not your rest. This ain't the place to be. We're just on a like how it says here. The word pilgrim comes from the Latin peregrinus, meaning foreigner, stranger, or traveler. And we're foreigners here in this land. This is not our land. Our land is Israel. We're strangers here, and we're travelers. So we're just traveling to the Holy Land. We're traveling to what we're looking for. What we're traveling to is a world ruled in righteousness. This is what we're looking for. One who travels abroad. That says the Latin prefix meaning through or beyond. And ager means field or country, land. Okay, that's fine. So we're looking for a better place. We're just travelers, in other words. So, O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. He that selleth, let him be as one that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. So whatever, you're involved in, whatever, hey, don't get attached to it. Yeah, you got a business, you work for a business, do this, that, whatever. Hey, don't get attached to it, because you're going to be like one that leaves, flees away. Or that you buy and expect to lose it. He that occupieth merchandise as he that hath no profit by it. So all these things, like, you put it in a mindset, you're not going to, this is not the place to be. This is not the place to make it. We ready to up and let go at any moment. And he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth as if he should not reap. So also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And therefore they that labor in vain. So you're not going to see any profit from this. At your J's, all that kind of stuff, it's collapsing. The signs of this is not prosperity. This is the time of collapse, a sign of a time of decline. And if this isn't a time of declining, then what will be, looking forward to? What do you put because if you're not investing in this, what are you going to invest in? So you're going to invest in the Lord. So this is, I was going to go to this. Let me just see here. Cause also, using this says 15 signs. This is from the historycollection.com. It says 15 warning signs that came before a civilization's fall. I'm not going to read all that. It says widening wealth inequality. It says a visible gap between the wealthy elite and struggling masses often signals trouble ahead for society. And is that not happening? Like the Congress, the senators, these elite, they every time something happens, there's a thing, they're making bank off of it, and you losing. With the tariff thing, you losing on that. They what was it, Trump? What was that last month? Let me see here. So the U.S. government is actively refunding $166 billion in unconstitutional tariffs to eligible businesses. Let me rephrase the question. The Trump administration is processing billions of dollars in tariff refunds to businesses following a Supreme Court ruling that struck down certain important levies as illegal. because tariffs are initially paid by importers, not individuals, then passed down. These massive refunds go directly to businesses. Companies are not required to share their money with consumers who will absorb the cost through higher shelf prices. So it's passed on to you. It's passed on to you. We get bailed out, but you get fucked. Fuck you, consumers. So let me see, where was I? So that's an even bigger wealth gap. It says corruption of leadership. That's Sirach, the 10th chapter. It says corruption at the top can fatally undermine a civilization's foundations. When leaders prioritize personal gain over public duty, trust in institutions quickly erode. And this is what's happening. During the waning days of the Han Dynasty, corrupt officials siphoned resources and weakened the state's ability. And that's also them tariffs. Everything that you see and doing, these niggas is sapping your money. Weaken the state's corrupt officials siphoned resources and weakened the state's ability to respond to crises. The Byzantine Empire also suffered as bribery and nepotism became rampant. Today, watchdogs like Transparency International track how corruption continues to the threat. So why they mentioned the Han Dynasty and the Byzantine, but they ain't mentioned America. Let me see here. What was I was gonna get this Sirach 10. This is Sirach 10, and I'll start at verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. So these are good things. This is what you want in your leadership. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So if your leader is corrupt, if the leadership is corrupt, which you should already know that the POTUS, President of the United States, is not the man in charge. He's just a figurehead. He has people behind him, behind the scenes, controlling the streams. So if they're corrupt, if he's corrupt, everybody down the line is corrupt. So if you put a corrupt person in charge, everybody under him is going to be in charge. So as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. So right now there's an unwise king, and he's destroying his own people. You see, like, no bailouts for the farmers. But verse 4, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. So in due time, and let you know that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, he's ruling. He puts these people in power. And he's getting ready to set his son on the throne of the earth. So where was I? I mean, environmental degradation. You got the data centers popping up everywhere, over expansion, breakdown of trade networks, which has already been touched on. So moving on, this is oh, I had the tab open too. I forgot. Oh, it's all good. Matter of fact, let's just leave it there. This is Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19. So if you see this place is in decline, why would you invest in like a dying company, in a dying business, in a dying economy, in a dying world? You want to put your investments in the living, in what's not going to degrade, what's going to be there forever. You want to invest in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19, and I think I'm gonna get it in the. I'm gonna start with the NIV. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal." Because they all this, um, your dollars, all that kind of stuff. It's just paper. It's fiat currency. It's just your belief in it. It's just, hey, this dollar's worth a dollar, which really it isn't. It's not even worth the money, like the paper is printed on, you know, and it's not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold. It's just backed by just imaginary. And the same thing with the digital dollar, the stable coins, the cryptocurrency, all that. It's all imaginary. It ain't real. And just because um what we're doing is storing up treasure in heaven here. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. And I'm thinking of how they had Pablo Escobar. And so like I'm kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, Eden. Oh, I get stupid English. It says Pablo Escobar, the infamous head of the Medellin cartel, earned so much cash that he simply couldn't deposit it into banks. His brother detailed in his book. Okay. Here it is. It says rodent. He had so much money he couldn't. He's trying to hide it in different places and store it in different places. It says rodents and spoilage with cash stashed away in damp, dark locations. Rodents would often chew on the $100 bills, effectively turning millions of dollars into useless paper scraps. So he was losing a lot of money from it decaying itself because it's corruptible. Not only was that money got by deceitful means and all that kind of stuff, it was corrupted. But also, rats came in. Like it says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin, that's I believe that's rats and stuff like that. Yeah, rats, squirrels, and small animals. Says vermin is a broad term for small animals and insects that destroy property, damage crops, or carry diseases. So those are all, that's sent by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which everything is. Verse 20, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. So can't nobody steal this from you. The same thing, it says, let no man steal your crown or take your crown. This is something that you believe in. And even though, believing, having faith is not something tangible. You can't touch your belief. You can't touch your charity. You can't touch brotherly love. You can't touch agape. You can't touch, the Holy Spirit. It's not something physically tangible, but these things will lead to a kingdom that is tangible. But this and also this word is pure. It's pure 100% truth. It can't be corrupted. This truth. So you're putting your faith, you're putting all your investments into something that is incorruptible, and that you believe will lead to a greater prosperity than you could ever imagine. Like you can imagine like just a little bit of it, but it's going to far exceed it. It says, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if you just thinking about, dollar bill and all that kind of stuff, making it here, getting, what is it, a Maybach? I don't even know what that is. Let me see. I don't even know how to spell it. I just hear that a lot. That's just something I hear. I hope it's spelled like that. Yeah. So you thinking about stuff like that. You just thinking about luxuries here on Earth. Meanwhile, that shit trash. You're gonna have something. Hey, you're gonna have a chariot that's gonna far exceed this. Like this stuff, you gotta have to take it to a mechanic. You gotta pay the taxes on it. You gotta keep the leather, all that stuff, interior. You know, nah, the chariot's gonna be a living creature. It's gonna be, you ain't gotta take it to the mechanic. That's something I was thinking about in the world. Like when I first started, working on vehicles and whatnot. Just like, why can't I just like, why do I got to get in here with my hands and stuff like that? Why can't the vehicle just like self heal or like, or why can't the vehicle like, why can't I just think the vehicle and use my mind like telepathically and like repair the vehicle without me having to get in here and physically? But that's just, I'm just. Some things you thinking like this got to be a like this shit sucks. Ain't no way these people calling them the creators of civilization and still haven't thought of a better way to do shit. Meanwhile, but hey, we have to be in this world though. So we're in the we're in this world. We have to live here, but we're pilgrims here. We're not invested in this world. We're invested in the kingdom to come. So I'm going to get here. This is St. John chapter 17 and verse 15. This is Yahushua speaking. It says, I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from the evil. So we have to be here. We have to be here. We have to interact with the people. We have to interact with, the economy. We have to see how these things go. But we pray that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, keeps us from the evil, that we're not corrupted by this world, that we're not, led astray or anything like that, but that we're, they kept from the evil. It says, they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through thy truth. That word is truth. So they sanctified to be made holy by this word, by the truth. So while we're here, we're still separate though. We're made holy by this word. We understand to separate from the world, not to participate in all these things that they do. Like the Moism, the how do you say, the Sodom, the sodomy, the Sodom, how it says spiritual Sodom and spiritual Egypt. Not taking part in this, not eating, changing our diet, calling on the names Yahweh Shai, not believing in that bullshit Jesus, not believing in this place, staying away from the evil, even though we have to be right there with it. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and 31, and I'll get this in the NLT. It says, those who use the things of the world should not become attached to them. So if we have to use the world. Like if you can make some extra money, help out the ministry, and all that, do it, but don't get attached to this. You might have certain investments, all that kind of stuff. Don't get attached to it. Like that's it. Because this place is going away quickly. For the present, for this world as we know it will soon pass away. So that all this stuff that that you think here, this is just fading. Isaiah 30, the 34th chapter is one of my favorite chapters because it goes into everything, how this place is going to be destroyed. It's going to be a wasteland forever. And it's just going to be, the only memory of it is going to be that wasteland and how it's going to be set up to be a reminder of how not to live, how not to rule the world, what will happen if you live this way. So that's all there is of this world. This is just going to be a distant memory in the kingdom. And I'm going to close out soon. This is 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10, and the subheader says, a new heaven and an earth. And it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. So if all this stuff, like it says, the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, the ICBMs dropping, the explosions happening, everything exploding, the high winds that come from the explosions, it's going to be a great noise. It's going to be heard around the world, and it's going to be seen around the world because they have the satellite imaging. They have live streams going up everywhere. You have camera feeds up everywhere. You have people with cell phones walking around everywhere, live streaming everything on TikTok, whether Instagram or YouTube or whatever platforms. Everybody's going to see this. Everybody's going to hear it. And the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Those ICBMs, they burn hotter than the sun. The elements are going to be broken down. Everything's going to be turned to dust and ashes. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. So let's look at this word for works real quick. I just want to see that. G2041 says ergon. It says business, employment, that which anyone is occupied, that which one undertakes to do, any product, the act, deed done, the idea of working. So all the thing, everything that's here, the businesses, the economies, all the works, the fashion of this place, it's going to be burnt up. Everything. The way of thinking here, the way of thinking, this Western mindset is going to die with this place. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness? So you should be trying to get like a Mashiach, one of the anointed ones. You should be trying to store up treasures in heaven. You should be trying to fulfill or trying to get works that are incorruptible, trying to attain to these things that when it is tried by the fire, it won't be destroyed. Because everything that's going to be destroyed is all going to be corruptible works, but the incorruptible, that's going to be what remains. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens, being on fire, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. So we're looking for a better, a better place, a refreshed earth, kainos, a righteous earth. Let me see here. This is the last one, and this was Peter asking Yahushua. He just read 2 Peter, but Peter let him know what he's looking for. Because Peter, he made an investment. We've all made an investment. We put everything on Yahushua, just like Yahushua put everything on us. He gave his life for us. And that blood was precious. So, and likewise, we give our lives up for Yahushua. Matthew 19:27, and it says, the disciples' reward. Then Peter answered and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? Because that's a reasonable. Like we left everything. Like what's our pay? Like what are we gonna get for following you? You don't want to just like when you get a job, you expect, some kind of pay. You expect something. You're just not working for free. Which, this is a reasonable service. It is a good thing to turn back to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, but there's a reward, is what I'm getting at. And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory. So when Yahushua returns and there's regeneration, you're going to be back here again. Ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So you're going to be one of the judges, and Peter's going to be up there at the top. And everyone that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my name's sake, shall receive an hundredfold, and shall inherit everlasting life. So if you put off this world, and it's not to say like you just left your family and all that kind of stuff, but you put in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai first. Because all these things are corruptible. All these things will they're corruptible. They're gonna throw you off from seeking Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And knowing that all these things are gonna be destroyed, and everyone that have forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands for my name's sake shall receive an hundredfold, and shall inherit everlasting life. So you're going to receive a far more. You're going to have way more children. You're going to have you're going to have everything restored to you. You're going to have so much. Like I'm thinking of Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 through 14. And shall inherit everlasting life, meaning that, let me see that, inherit everlasting life. G166, aeonios, without beginning and end. It says without beginning, without end, never to cease. So you're going to have a life, you're going to be immortal. How about that? But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So if you put in this life first, like 2/3, they put in everything in this life, the comfort of this life first, you're going to be last. But if you put in Yahushua first, in this world last, you're going to be first in the kingdom. So, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. But hey, that's pretty much it. Like you seeing the civilization collapsing, you seeing the businesses around you collapsing. Hey, invest in Yahushua. Hey, turn to Yahushua. This world to come, the world that's going to be ruled in righteousness, is going to be forever. And that's it. Hey, shalom.